On a Zoom teleconference earlier this week, Democratic Senator Joe Manchin told this group, which included super rich donors on the call for this No Labels group, explained to them why he wants to preserve the filibuster, and also tried to convince them to convince maybe some moderate Republicans, people like Roy Blunt of Missouri, to vote in favor of the January 6th commission. Possibly, maybe that's why I'm going to keep voting no on the filibuster reform, because you're going to help me do this other thing. Here's the thing. This is great reporting, by the way, from both Lee Fong and Ryan Grimm over at The Intercept. They got their hands on this audio, reported this, and yes, this is shady, this is disgusting, this is trying to say, like, you scratch my back, I scratch your back, but none of it's illegal. So I don't want to give the impression that what took place on this phone call is illegal, because it's not. And believe it or not, that's actually the problem. I think that's the bigger story here. But real quick, just to kind of recap again, Manchin, and No Labels, by the way, doesn't want the filibuster to go away. Manchin tells him he's going to keep voting no against the filibuster, but I also need you guys, get with Roy Blunt, see if you can get him to vote yes in favor of the January 6th commission, which is a very important thing. Honestly, I'm kind of glad to see Manchin out there actually working on this, trying to get votes for it. That's a good thing. Not at the expense of the filibuster, however. But that brings me back to the overall main point. This is how the game is played. And we don't like it. We don't fully understand it because we're not a part of it. But it is how the game is played. Now, don't get me wrong. That doesn't make any of this okay. What I'm trying to show you is that to these people, to people like Manchin, it is in fact a game. Like they're collecting baseball cards or Pokemon cards or whatever it is you collect, if you understand the analogy here. Okay, I've got the votes over here for this one, but I need 2 over here. So what if I trade you one of these and we don't do this, but in exchange you give me what I need over here for this hand, and then everybody, gets a little bit of what they want instead of nobody getting anything. It is these little quid pro quos. And again, they're not illegal. When I say that, I'm not implying that they're illegal in any way. This is just how the deals are made, how the sausage is made, essentially. And it sucks. Because for these people, it is, in fact, a game. They have nothing at stake. They have nothing at stake with most of this legislation that comes through their chambers. We do. This is legislation that for many of us in America, millions of us, this would affect our lives every single day. But to them, it's a vote they can trade away. Maybe I need it for this. Maybe I hold back because I need a favor over here for this thing. Maybe I got to see if I can get a deal going with this person because they got something in the works that I'm going to vote against, but I need them still for this. So who knows? Those are the kinds of things that take place behind the scenes. Those are the kinds of things that all of us want to pretend don't happen, but they do happen. And they happen with everybody. And as long as those things continue to happen, we're the ones who get screwed in the process. Because at the end of the day, the deals that they make in D.C., it's not because they want to make our lives better. It's because they want to make sure they gain as many political points as possible to save their careers for another term. Thanks for watching, and if you like what you saw, don't forget to like, comment, share, and most importantly, subscribe to our Ring of Fire channel here.